What's up, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital MV, my GH After show. Y'all, I have been sick again. This is not my season. This time it's allergies, so it is what it is. 'Tis the season. So I'm gonna try to keep it brief, no promises. Let's get into it. We got to see Terry and Chet go on a date at the Metro Court, and boy did they sparkle. We learned that Terry had already told Chet that she was transgender off screen, which I'm relieved about, although I kind of wish that it happened on screen at some point. It's actually really nice to see that Chet is such an open-minded guy, and that Terry is also very open-minded. One thing that I forgot is that Chet has 2 prosthetic legs. I actually forgot about that. The actor as well has 2 prosthetic legs because he was also in the military. I actually had to look back at one of the episodes and watch like a wider angled shot of Chet just to see the legs because I wasn't 100% convinced until I actually saw for myself. We're lucky to see Chet like 2-3 times a year, so you gotta forgive me for forgetting. Anyway, the only conflict that these two have so far is that Chet's sister Amy and Terry do not get along at work. Amy was shook to learn from her coworker that her brother was out on a date with Terry. Furthermore, when Terry realized that Chet was actually Amy's brother, she looked like she was about to kill over. Hopefully we don't have to wait several weeks just to see them on screen again. Meanwhile, Terry's friend Elizabeth met up with a medium this week to see if it was actually Franco that was haunting her house. Terry was supposed to go to that meeting, but I guess since the medium wanted to go to Elizabeth's house, Elizabeth opted out on Terry going with her. Elizabeth even lied to Finn on her whereabouts. She told him that she was going to Windermere to stay there because it's much safer, but unfortunately for Elizabeth, Finn ran into Nicholas at GH, and that's how he discovered that Elizabeth wasn't at Windermere at all. The medium actually made contact with the presence in the house, and the presence appeared to be Franco. At least that's what they were claiming anyway. There was something in the way the medium explained how she would make contact prior to making contact that suggested that when she contacts a poltergeist, it could be the spirit of the dead or the psychic impression of a person that's already living, which makes the suggestion that she could technically have been contacting Elizabeth's alternate personality, which a lot of fans are theorizing that's the case of what's going on here. And honestly, it does give that theory some momentum. Finn and Laura show up at the house while the medium was already taken over by this presence, and poor Elizabeth ended up looking like a nut job. Laura took Elizabeth back to her place to see her boys, while Finn ripped the medium a new one for taking advantage of a vulnerable woman, in which obviously the medium did not take kindly to, and she called him out for lying and saying that he doesn't think that Elizabeth is a nut job. For me, this storyline has honestly gotten to a point where I think it's a bit ridiculous and I'm no longer enjoying the mystery of it all. I mean, if this turns out to be a split personality, I will be even less interested because for me, there is nothing more cringeworthy on a soap opera than a split personality story. And this is coming from a soap that has had aliens and weather machines, okay? I do not approve. TJ seems to be on a mission to track down his would-be grandfather. Obviously, Curtis has no interest in tracking him down, and Jordan doesn't really have much pull if he's already left town, but she has faith that TJ has the means to find him on his own, and TJ already has a clue. If you guys remember, Marshall had left TJ a clarinet, and apparently there was a receipt in there that states that it was from, I think, Brooklyn, New York. So he is probably going to head on over there to find him, but I don't know if it'll happen on screen. I hope it does, and it might because TJ is on contract now. I don't know if I'm particularly interested in the story, but I am glad to see TJ getting airtime. In my opinion, what little we've seen of this TJ, he seems to be a wonderful actor, so he deserves to get some meat. I don't know if this is the meat I want, but it's something, so I'll go with it for now. I just hope that this Marshall storyline becomes more interesting than it has been. There must be something in the air in Port Charles because it seems like everyone is playing detective this week. Carly wants proof that Nina and Willow are in fact mother and daughter, and she had run into Nina at Charlie's and she steals a glass that Nina was drinking out of, and Drew notices her stealing it, so she had to let him in on why she did that. Carly also needed some kind of DNA sample from Willow, so Drew actually helps her sneak into Willow and Michael's house to get a DNA sample, and they kind of get caught, although Carly and Drew cover by saying that Carly just wanted some FaceTime with Michael and Willow to comfort them, and Willow even offered Carly a key to the house. I'm like, girl, you don't know what you're doing when it comes to Carly. This isn't exactly a thrilling storyline to watch either because the audience, we're already in on the fact that Nina and Willow are for sure mother and daughter. We've been new for years at this point because I never believed for 1 second that Nell was Nina's original daughter to begin with, although since Nell and Willow are technically twins, It's like, I don't know. The storyline is just a mess too. Sam is also offering Willow her services to track down her real mom too, and I wonder how long it's going to take for Carly to intervene once she finds out what Sam is doing. I give it 2.9 seconds. Spencer finally does something useful by snooping through Esme's belongings while Cameron keeps Esme busy by playing nice with her. And of course, Jocelyn and Trina witness Cameron being nice to her, and it doesn't put him in their good graces. Spencer finds two things. Number one, he finds the letters between Esme and her nanny Maggie, who Esme had claimed that she had lost contact with. And one of the letters claims that nothing could come good from finding her biological father. The second thing Spencer found was drugs. Obviously, these were the drugs that Esme used on Trina back at the cabin, but whether or not Spencer has figured out kinda remains to be seen. He actually takes one of the pills from the container and brings it over to Britt, who confirms what it is and what it can do with the effects of alcohol, which Spencer did question, so he might have caught on, but it's hard to say. The one thing I can say is that Spencer acted like a total ass to Britt, and I was not impressed. Dissing Britt about her love life as if he hasn't been shacked up with a psychopath that is ruining all of his friends' lives. And this girl ain't done with doing that yet, by the way. Earlier in the week, Esme happened to see Trina and Jocelyn talking to Rory and talking about Rory and how Trina was kind of into him, and she couldn't look more pleased, which low-key has me suspecting that she might have a connection to Rory in some way. I mean, yeah, she could just be thrilled that Trina is into someone else besides Spencer. That is a possibility, but I don't know. I just don't know, guys. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below. Now, later in the week, Esme actually caught Spencer going through her belongings because Cameron couldn't hold her for long, especially after Jocelyn ran her away. Spencer did have a bit of a cover story. He was basically claiming that he doesn't know her as well as he should and was curious about a few things. He does question her about who her biological father is, but Esme claims to not know, but she says that Maggie clearly knows and isn't saying anything, which makes her frustrated. Spencer didn't actually mention the drugs though. Esme clearly thought that he might have seen it, but he didn't bring them up, so she was kind of okay. But when she goes over to visit Ryan Chamberlain and explains what happened, Ryan rips her a new one and says that Spencer is clearly on to her. Ryan demands that Esme works harder on betting Nicholas, but to be honest, I really don't think she's going to have to work that much harder. I, for a while, was convinced that Nicholas was playing Esme, but after this week, I really don't think so. In a confrontation between Sunny and Nicholas this week, where Nicholas was made to look like the weakling he is via Sunny while Laura watched, he tells Laura afterwards that he does not believe that Esme made the sex tape. Anyway, back to Ryan and Esme. At one point, they actually bring up Esme's biological mother, and because they actually have a flashback of Felicia and Ryan back in the day, some of the fans believe that Felicia might actually be Esme's mother, but I honestly don't think that's the case. The flashback of Ryan and Felicia actually occurs when Ryan and Esme are discussing all the people that have wronged them in the past and getting revenge on them, which kind of insinuates to me that Ryan just isn't done with Felicia just yet, which I'm actually excited about because the last go around when Ryan first came back to the show, it really felt like they ushered Felicia out of that story hella fast and made him obsessed with Ava out of nowhere. And I kind of felt like we got gypped because you have these two original actors that were in the original story and Felicia was barely a part of it to begin with. I feel like now that Felicia is on contract, we're actually going to get the story between Felicia and Ryan that we didn't get to see the last time, which I am really excited to watch. Speaking of Felicia, she and Nina shared scenes this week and I didn't exactly hate it. I mean, Felicia does bring up the fact that she has a connection to Bobby and by extension Carly and Michael, but she also has a connection to Nina because of Nathan and James, so she's able to sort of decompartmentalize, you know, what they mean to each other and what that means in their relationships. Felicia says that she can't exactly judge Nina because she's made her own mistakes in life, although Nina does keep making them, because that's how she do. She had an awkward encounter with Willow and Michael at the cemetery. Nina was there to see Nell, Michael and Willow were there to visit Jonah, and then Sunny was also randomly there, and of course, things get heated with Sunny and Michael. I do not have a dog in that fight, y'all. I think they're both idiots. The only other thing worth noting this week that I haven't mentioned in the last few weeks, even though it's kind of been mentioned here and there, is that ELQ and Aurora are planning to merge to try and ease Valentine out of ELQ. Ned wasn't too thrilled because he wasn't in on the discussions about it. and feels like he's being left out to pasture by Michael and Drew. But now, thanks to Olivia's big mouth, Valentine is now aware that ELQ and Aurora are trying to merge. So obviously Valentine is going to do anything he can to make sure it doesn't happen. It's funny, we know so little about what ELQ actually does, but I'm so intrigued to see them actually tell these business-esque storylines. Not that I think the show could do them justice, but it's just nice to see the Quartermains quartermaining, you know? Anyway, that's all she wrote. I'm gonna end it here. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's GH, and if you liked this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out!